up to speed, up to speed, up to speed.
Live from the apocalypse, Four Noble Truths, Rule 3 in full effect. We are here. This is State of the Game. And I am Dano, and I kicked off a haiku marathon with my coworkers through the Teams chat today.
That's
Very excited about that. 575. Everybody participated. So I'm a good coworker, people. That's what I'm saying. So the now that I've sold myself, if you ever meet my co-host on the street, because that's where my co-host is, like Oscar, he's on the street. You know what I mean? You bump into him, you ask him why he hates dolphins, and have a great conversation.
That's actually fact. That one actually is accurate.
The football team or the actual animals?
The animals.
The animals. Yep. Whoa. Hates dolphins. Yeah, no Mike Shula shade. Hates dolphins. So very excited to have. Thank you for being here, Kay. Yeah. So we have this is the home team. This is good stuff.
Oh yeah.
This is good stuff. We have a guest. I always feel like Zilla Rocca is underrated. I always feel like people are enjoying 40% of Zilla Rocca.
I appreciate that.
Because there's so much crazy. Like, I was listening to a song, I was showing my son a video, and out of fucking nowhere, he says, "You only pray for luck when you're at fault."
Yep.
And I'm like, this motherfucker. Like, I'd write an essay on that shit. That's crazy.
Thank you.
So, yeah, he squeezes in gems all through. Sometimes people don't pick that shit up. I appreciate you, Zilla.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Love it. Love being on it.
We're talking about podcaster, producer, MC. Yeah, it's a great ghost. Appreciate it too.
I'm back. More gray, still back.
Yes. Chong Wizard, also, the most non-scumbag reliable vinyl guy, as one part of it.
That's a fact.
Right? Like I'd like to do business with a non-scumbag and get this efficiently done. Chong's the answer to that question.
That's awesome.
That means a lot.
But it's not the totality
industry.
It's not the totality of the picture, right? Because that's a little like being valedictorian of summer school, right? I'm just not a ripoff artist. Hey,
hey, isn't that crazy?
But and one of those producers who can make a beat that you listen to and go, I've never heard any fucking thing like this. This is fucking nuts.
Long.
So yeah, thank you for being as good at producing as Zilla is at swearing.
Fuck yeah.
He doesn't swear that much on the album. I'm trying to do like clean edits on some of these, and it's like you might say shit like once or twice on a song, like bitch once. I don't even know if he says fuck on the whole album.
I did say on 96 Mentality, motherfuck Papa John. That was on that.
I remember that. That was awesome. Yeah. Well, Zilla's one of my favorite swearing MCs because he makes the swears count. You know?
Man, I'm like Shaq at the free throw line, and I make them when they count. You know what I mean? Remember that shit? Missing 35 free throws, but he makes one.
Yeah. No, it's great. This is the follow-up. You guys came together to make the Midnight Suns album, which I've told you guys is my favorite thing that Zilla's been a part of. And this album, the follow-up, Money Has No Owners, is fabulous and one of the most listenable projects like that's come out in 2024.
Oh yeah.
And it's just one of those albums that ends and you can just begin again and it's fine,
Sweet.
I've listened to it a lot, Kay. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on that and the collaboration. I was lucky enough. So Kay, I don't know if they previewed this on the RMPB Discord, which they have listening parties They're awesome. I don't usually get to attend because I go to bed early, but I'm not as crunk as I used to be. But the we had the RMPB Discord, and right as I was about to go to bed, my favorite song on the project came on, and I waited to the end of it, and they were like, "What do you guys think?" And I had like a mini rant meltdown about how great the song was, and then went to bed. It was
You're
awesome.
like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah. Okay, I'm leaving. And so it's I got a chance to write the write up for it, and I was very lucky to do that. And yeah, it's just such a cool progression between these albums.
Thanks, man. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
we appreciate the write up and your enthusiasm in general, man. We love it. We love talking to you guys.
That's all I got, man. That's all I got. But yeah, we've it's been fun to watch it, and it's different from the first album, yet it retains some of the glory of the first album.
Yes.
No, the character. So, like, I was gonna ask, first question: what do you guys think the characteristics of a Midnight Suns album is?
Oof. I'll let John kick that one off.
Oh, that's tough, man. I think it's just making something like special, you know what I mean? Like we're not just doing anything when it comes to Midnight Suns. We're really
Right.
like trying to make something high quality. We're not like we're not mailing anything in with it, you know. It's a lot of thought, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and like our skill. Like the thing about me and Zilla Rocca is, you know, we're both guys who've been in the game for so long, so that we just have like so much experience and education. So when both of us get together, it's like two vets that fucking have done it for a long time get together, and it's just easy to execute at a high level. And I think it's just that's what Midnight Suns is. It's like execution at a high level.
Totally agree. Yeah, we don't have a like a series, you know, like a volume 1, volume 2, and this is that formula again and again. So I really the way Chong nailed it. I mean that's it. Because for us it's just I look up to people that can just crank out records. I can't do that. I'm always making stuff or thinking about stuff or tweaking stuff, but I can't be like, oh yeah, just give me 10 beats in like 3 weeks, I'll have the album done. I don't
Yeah.
operate like that. It's tricky. So even when I do catch a good prolific run, there's just more time on my end to be like, okay, what is this beat telling me the song is? Not like, oh, I'm just gonna bar out. I wish I could just bar out all the time. That would be phenomenal. But and Chong, luckily enough, is patient with me to be like, yo, I really like this one. And like 7 months go by. I'm like, oh, here's the song. And then in between, he may send something to me on a Monday and I'll have it back to him on a Friday. Sometimes I'll be like, I'll turn down like 5 beats. I'm like, I don't know. Or I'll be excited about a beat and nothing happens. So it's more just the patience of letting things. It's almost like how records used to work. You know what I mean? Like it sounds dumb, but it did used to be you record something Friday and it's out to the world on a Saturday, you know, and there's great results when that happens too. But I feel like, hey, like this is how it used to be. Then we would sit with the records and be like, oh, maybe we should add a musician, or maybe we should, or I'll redo this part, or maybe we should get this person, then I'll change this. So there's a lot of space for it to happen. So I don't know what character. I mean, you guys are listeners, and you're both very intelligent. So maybe you could pick out those things better than we could because we just make it and spend a lot of time. But yeah, that's my my 2 pennies.
No, I like that. That's the time it takes to make it, and like to make sure you understand the direction of where it's going is
Right.
important.
He mentioned patience, and that's real because both of us, we're both like, it's rare you get two people that are working on a project that are both patient, because there's a lot of people that are like, let's go, let's
Yes.
go, let's go, you know what I mean? And like, so I appreciate it too. It's like there's no pressure. We're neither of us are like stressing each other out or pressuring each other to get the record done or anything like
Right.
that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Right. No, that makes sense. That's important. And for me, I think one of the primary characteristics is that this will not be like the other things that you are seeing, right? Um, like that's like that is consciously the character, right, of this. It is like this is not like the market.
No.
That you nailed it, Dan, because me and Zilla Rocca even said that's just kind of who we are too, is like from being fans of the stuff and knowing what's going on in the scene and what other people are doing. We definitely don't want to sound like anyone else. We might want to do some stuff that people haven't done in a long time that don't do anymore. Like, so when we do some of these old school sounding songs,
Mhm.
it's not like a traditional new age boom bap. It's like, oh, this is a style of song that the cats don't make anymore. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we definitely try to do things a little differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I could see that, okay, with the guests on the first album,
Hmm.
right? We're talking about Malik B from The Roots, right? The
Rest in
last song he did before he passed.
peace. Correct.
And like Nature.
Hell yeah.
Fucking when Nature started on a Millionaire Grammar, I hadn't looked at who was on the song, and I was like, did he get fucking G-Rap?
It's that Queen
Because
shit.
Nature's one of those people who, when he's focused, sounds like the best fucking rapper who ever lived.
Dog, that's every album I make is like, this is the album I wanted Nature to make.
Right.
That's
Right.
my goal. I wanted Nature to rap on fucking New Boss. I want to hear Nature on beats like that. He don't pick them. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. No, the 90s were littered with artists who we loved on other people's songs and they never put together the albums we
Right.
wanted.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And it's props to Zilla. He picks some of those beats you don't expect, and then that gives it that different sound where it's like, oh, like you didn't expect us to rock. Like sometimes I don't even expect him to pick the beat, and then also like even though a lot of my beats are kind of a traditional style of production, and Zilla might rap in a traditional way, you'll start saying some stuff that no one's ever said or will ever say on some shit, like just like stuff that just other people aren't into. Like, you know what I mean? Me and him are both into like a wide variety of stuff, so it really
Right.
comes through the music. So
Hell yeah.
that's one of the ways that just makes our shit different.
Yeah. So the second characteristic to me, Kay, is like fascinating guest verses. That is a part of the Midnight Suns formula.
Yes.
Yeah.
When
And
there's
the guest verses are in relation to the song and the subject at hand.
Correct. Yeah,
With
it's
this
not
one, with
like
the new
a
one, I think even with both of them, it's because we usually do all of the songs, or we do the songs first and then get the guests on after, so they already hear the song and they know what it's about, so they it should be easy for them to just to fall into the topic. So
yeah, I think the only time we didn't do that was Terrible Twos,
yeah,
where
Yeah.
Andrew like shaped that one. And Andrew's great at that. Andrew's so good at me just sending him shit. Be like, yo, what do you got? And he'll send it back the next day. Everything's finished. I'm like, oh, okay, that's where the song's going. Thank you very much. But
Yeah.
everyone else, yes, they were getting the full piece to be like, okay, here's where you're gonna come in, and here's the topic, here's the theme, here's where we're gonna go with it. Here's like a scratch take of what the hook's gonna be, and then you're gonna pop in right here. And so it's like, and I think because Andrew shaped Terrible Twos, I think he's the only guest that goes first. I think I go first on
Alaska
all the
goes
other ones.
first too.
Alaska, you're right. Yep, you're right. Alaska went first. I think I purposely was like, we should put him first to break
We
it
did
up.
start having to make that choice because I'm kind of one of those guys that likes the guy like who's the lead, whose project it is to go first on all the songs, but it was good to mix it up a little bit.
Right.
And we almost had Prem go first on his, but the way like the song worked out, I just felt like since Zilla had two verses, it was good to like break it up and have
Yeah.
Prem in the
Yeah.
middle.
Yeah, we're revolutionizing 3-verse songs again. We're doing that.
Oh, getting it done. I mean, and it's the first one was like exactly 30 minutes.
Wow.
It was like 30 minutes and 43 seconds or something like that. And
I don't know how long this
Yeah.
one is. 40?
This
40
one's
minutes?
45 minutes or
45. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
this one is longer.
Yes.
But it's a story of two halves for sure.
Definitely.
And I think that's the exciting part of this album is it starts as something and becomes something new
Yes.
by the end of it. And yeah, I guess to get into that a little bit, just because I think me and Zilla talk a fair amount about how slow and trudgy a lot of songs have gotten.
Facts.
And like trudgy and sad and declaratively sad.
Yes.
It's almost like the difference between when you have that line on this album where you're like loud assholes having like breakups on their speakerphones outside,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Mhm.
And like you're making fun of them, but you have breakup songs like
Yes.
where you cover this. It's everyone's going through the breakups. It's just about how you do it, right?
Yes.
And some of these guys are some people are just cranking out sad over slow beats volume 7, you know.
Right.
And you approach slower songs very differently from a lot of people.
Because that shit it sucks the life out of me, man. Like I don't live a drugged out, like aimless, looking at my shoes lifestyle. Like that's what that music does to me. You know what I mean? Like one song on a record like that, cool. Two, got it. It depends on where they are in the sequence. But when I see these records come out from artists I really like, and the consensus was like, and it's because people like the artist, so they'll go over the top to make sure they're letting people know they like the. I'm like, but the record's not good
Right.
because there's nothing stands out, and it feels like Chong knows this as a producer. I feel like people that do those type of records, when you get a sample, whether it's vinyl, YouTube, cassette, whatever, there's juicy parts on these joints you want to sample, right?
Right.
And they'll be quite obvious. Like Madlib's whole life is just taking the loop. I'm the loop digger. I just
Right.
drop the needle, I record it. That's Mad Villainy. Just loops. I don't even put a lot of drums, right? Um, these dudes like dodge the raindrops and purposely pick the boring parts of the record with the ugly sound. And they're like, "Yep, that's the beat." And the rapper's like, "Oh, I love that." And I'm like, "How? Like, why would you pick that?" It's like
Well,
anti-loops. It's like anti-anthem, anti-melody. It's very bizarre to me, and it's very prevalent. I don't get it.
I think like from our era, like when we grew up, depression was kind of like, and sad stuff was kind of like looked at as a weakness, and like
Yes.
you had to have thick skin and you had to shake things off. It's not like none of us, like everybody's sad at some point, but like when we grew up, it was like you had to be tough and you had to like just be like, fuck it, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's a new day, you know what I mean? I'm over that, you know what I mean? And I think with the younger generation, some of these guys that are making this stuff, they're 10 years younger than us, and a lot of those people are like really, that generation is depressed so badly, so they really like the
That's a good
fans
point.
of that age resonate with that
That's a
stuff, and
good
so
point.
that's why a lot of it is so popular. And it's harder for some of us older guys to be on that, because it's like we don't we aren't allowed, we like growing up we weren't allowed to stay in that, like there was
Right.
just that wasn't, there was no, you're not allowed to be depressed, like
Right.
it was looked at as weak, so you kind of just shook it off. So I think like that's one of those things, but it's definitely boring when it's all like the same tone
Right.
and depressing. And it's funny because I do like making slow beats, and I'm glad we had a variety. But it's funny, like you listen to a song like Terrible Twos, which tone wise you would think it's this really sad song about addiction, but that thing makes me smile so much. It's almost like a happy song to me, even though it's like about like addiction and battling relapse and whatnot, and like
Right.
and habits and stuff. And so even I Never Stay in Touch. That song is hilarious too, and that's another slow song where it's like,
Wearing the T right now.
yes.
It's hard,
So,
hard to see with the
so
zoom back.
I appreciate Zilla being able to take sad beats and make them happy, because I think that's kind of a lost art too.
Because
Like,
that's the contrast. Like when
yeah,
to your point, Chong, about like our songs about depression was stressed out by Tribe Called Quest, and it was a radio smash.
yeah,
You're like, I really know how it feels to be
It-
stressed out.
like dance to
stressed
that.
out. You know what I mean? And because the drums are banging, you know,
Right.
Faith Evans on the hook, like that's a depression song. You know, she's like,
And well,
someday.
and I can't remember who it was, Kay, but we were talking about to somebody, and they were questioning the validity of album cuts and whether that's a thing or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, it's definitely a thing. Like, that's where the emotional shit went on albums in the 90s.
Yep.
Like, that's like, look, go ahead and pull up your track listing and answer where Suicidal Thoughts is in the track listing.
Yes.
It ain't in the top half.
In the middle.
That's
It's
fact.
track 17. Like, that is way at the bottom. So
Right.
it's a lot of the songs with the most emotional Tupac songs. People think about that. That's track 11, 12,
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
That is not
The funny thing is too, like our most depressing song on the album is like the Men Never Take Advice, and it's probably my least favorite song. Not because it's a bad song or anything. It's a very good song, but like I just don't like listening to it because it's depressing. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the one when I listen to the album, I skip that one a lot just because I'm like, nah, I'm not in that mood. You know what I mean?
right.
Right.
But people love that song. There's been a lot
They
of people
do.
saying
It's
it's their
wild.
favorite. So it's and
And
it's
that
a
was the
good
first
beat and
song-
good
it's the
raps,
first
and it
song we
stays on
made.
topic. So I
Right.
get it, but it's also one of those ones where it's like,
Yeah.
me and
no,
Bella had a
it's-
hard time figuring out what to do with that song. Like, where are we putting this on the album? Like,
Right in the middle. There it is.
yeah.
It was the first song we made.
When you get a grown up, when you become a grown up and you're doing shit, you're responsible for people all day and shit.
Yeah.
And you finally get to kick back and relax. You're not gonna like. I'm not tuning into an HBO show about Chernobyl. Like, I'm not doing that.
Oh man.
I'm not. I don't have that in me. You know
I
what I
think I
mean?
watched like one episode and I was like, this is
It's
way
so
too
good.
much for me. Like, I can't do it.
I'm gonna
that was-
flip into like. I'm gonna watch Night Court on Peacock. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
it's so bad. The new one's so bad,
Like-
bro. You gotta go old school, Harry Stone and all that, Judge Harry Stone.
It's
But I watched Chernobyl in full when I went to Oakland last year.
okay.
Because I was like, all right, I don't have any response. Let me watch it because Castro was like, everyone was like, this show's incredible.
Yeah.
So when I watched it, I was like, wow. And I started getting hooked. I'm like, I just can't wait to go to sleep so I can just watch the show unbothered. But, you know, I was like out of my life those 5 days. Where I was like, oh, I could just like watch some heavy, you're watching people slowly be poisoned by radiation. You know what I mean? Like,
I told Kay this story about I never saw The Wire when it came out, and so I was catching up on it right as my son was born,
oof,
and
that's quite a time.
and and everyone I knew was like, it's the best show ever. When I was single in my apartment, I binge watched it, and I was like, look, man, I chug an hour when the kid is going to bed,
Mhm.
and my wife comes down and she goes, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, because it's like so fucking sad, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I'm watching them on the docks. Their life is hopeless. It's great.
Oh my God.
Um,
Nikki Sabaka.
so it's just hard, and the same applies with music, right? You're just
Right.
like, I worked really hard, and now I'm gonna listen to enough Future to be like, is he okay? You know,
No, he's not. He's not okay. He's not doing well.
that was my first, like when I first heard the Dirty Sprite thing, I was like, is he okay? Like, is that
Oh man,
almost fine? Is he okay though? Can we?
that's
need
quite a
to-
ride. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where my thing goes. But a lot of the series, you guys were talking about how differentiating a series. I had a little bit of a rant for the Patreon on that a while ago of like
Mhm.
people getting trapped in a series,
Mm.
you know,
Oh, you mean rap, not like TV?
Yeah. rap,
Okay.
like it Cocaine Bunny Rabbit 2, Cocaine Bunny Rabbit 3, Cocaine Bunny Rabbit 4.
Yep.
And they're just and they get trapped. They're almost getting bullied by the market.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, Kay, to give you a story, my bullies thought I was funny. So they would go up to me and be like, do that funny gag or I'm going to beat you up. And I would do the funny gag. And
Oh my
like,
God.
that's kind of what these guys are doing for the market.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, Cocaine Bunny Rabbit 6, all right. And it's
Like
like,
backhanded bullying.
yeah, there's no differentiation between the projects, right?
Right.
A lot of times it's same groups of producers mixed up in a
Right.
different way, same guests,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about? It's like, to me, the approach for how we've done these two records so far, it's Rick Ross like, where when you would look at Rick Ross albums, and the last like 5 or 6 really aren't the best, but when you get the first 3 or 4, this dude was like, yo, I'm putting Jada Kiss, T.I., and Erykah Badu on the same song.
Yeah.
And you're like, huh, it's interesting. And then I'm going to have Omarion on the same album where Styles P and Gucci Mane sit. And
Yeah.
John Legend's there too. And you're like, how did you put Styles P on the most crazy Lex Luger, Larry Meech, like Styles P, huh?
Right.
All right, I'm with it. And the song before it, like MC Hammer, you're like, I'm putting Gucci Mane on this one.
Yeah.
But then Magnificent, I'm putting John Legend to do like Jerry Curl 80s R&B. I'm like, awesome. Like, it all works out somehow.
One
with
of the
that.
most insane things was how good the relationship between John Legend and Rick Ross was.
Right.
I that's insane to me.
Even Nas, I'm listening to these joints. I'm like, Nas should have just went to MMG
Right.
to let Rick Ross executive produce for him. Because all the times they work together, it's incredible. And like Rick Ross, he's not doing it to be like, I'm going to crush these dudes. They're dead. You put Jada Kiss on a song, I'm killing them. No, he's like, the song's great because I want you to do something awesome on it because I love you. And this is, you haven't been on this. You haven't been on like luxury lifestyle beats, Jada Kiss, come through. You haven't been on the birth of trap music, Styles P, come through. I'm putting you on this. It's like really, so I think for us, I think it's like, we don't do this, we don't do those things. You know what I mean? Like, it's not interesting to be like, okay, slow, grimy beat. Well, AJ Suede has a lot of those. We'll just put AJ Suede on a slow, grimy beat. Oh, a song about comic books or some shit. Well, Curly Castro raps about comic books. He's going to be on that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not interesting to me as a listener to always know. Like, it's almost like in baseball, tipping your pitches. Like, if I know it's always going to be a curveball, I'm not really a good hitter. You're just fucking up as a pitcher. You know what I mean? Like, if you're tipping your... So, I like how we approach that, where you, to your point, when we got Malik B, like Malik B wasn't doing features like that. He wasn't really out.
Right.
You know, Nature was just doing like European stuff, and he wasn't really on a J Zone drum break with like a Japanese horror sample.
Right.
It was It was fun. So it's like, okay, we can break expectations of what people, when they see those names on a track list, like, oh. Or even getting Billy Woods last time on Honest Living Crooked Killing. Like Woods, no one really gets Woods on those type of beats, next to Lord Juco, no less. So I think we do a good job, even on this record, like Blue on Tough Guys Fill a Cemetery. I don't hear Blue on those beats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, people don't go to him. But I'm like, well, I know he can do it, like
Right.
like I'm interested when people get to me for features, I'm always intrigued to see like what they think I would sound good on. And sometimes it'll be like, bro, why do you think I would sound good on this? You know what I mean? But the PayPal clears, I'm like, all right, I'll get on it. Like, that's cool. But I'm like, you think I would fit this? I mean, I'll do it. I'm invested. Sure, I'm gonna do my best. Versus sometimes when people send me stuff for features, I'm like, damn, I wish that was my song. Like, I wanted that one for me. Why don't I get? You know what I mean? So that's the way the pendulum swings.
With Blue especially, like, I don't think people understand how much Blue loves East Coast rap.
Hell yeah.
Like, when we talked to Real Bad Man, and I was like, you put CL Smooth together with Blue. He's like, that's Blue. Blue wanted.
That's
Like,
so dope.
Blue was like, do you think we can get CL Smooth? Like, that's a nerd. Like, Blue is
great.
a nerd. And
We got to get CL Smooth. What am I doing? I got
Yeah.
main ingredient
Yeah.
on the wall.
Next Midnight Suns, CL Smooth.
Opening
We'll put that
song,
on the
CL
list.
Smooth.
Yeah.
God, I love him.
And if you, by the way, if you listen to CL Smooth's feature on that Blue song, it's great. Like,
I missed it.
he still
I
got
gotta
it.
jump on it.
He still
Real
got it.
Bad Man's got so many records.
But
Oh.
I have heard like stuff just even over the last 15, 20 years that not many people heard by CL. Like he still had it whenever I heard it. Even in the mixtape era, I remember I played some joint that he did. He had a single and it was like he was still killing it. And I was like, damn, he still got it. And you just never really hear from him because he doesn't
Right.
put out a lot.
Yeah. And that's the thing about these legends, like Zilla. It's like that's one of the things from Midnight Suns 1 that I was like, oh, you guys are constantly talking about how these guys are legends, but none of you guys are calling them for features.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? You're calling.
We kind of dropped the ball on the second one because we had talked about getting a couple of legends. Zilla was pushing for it, and I kind of just was like, we have so many dope friends right now. Like we've kind of got this new thing building, this new community, and we kind of wanted to like lean into like all the guys that have been on my label or all the guys that's been on Zilla's because we were like,
Right.
we've got like a crazy like group of talented people like at our disposal that are right here that want to work with us. So we didn't feel quite as much the need to reach for those, but we had talked about getting Mike Geronimo and like Royal Flush, and we might revisit that. I swear I sent Mike Geronimo the
I think New Boss.
I sent him the song that we shouted out on the first album, Lucky Break.
Oh yeah.
Sent him that and I said, we shouted you out on this record, check it out. And he's like, okay, cool, thanks. And then just never sent anything back to me. So I was just like, all right. All right.
But by the way, Lucky Break was a great example of that. Like, I think people were really in love with Denmark's verse on that. And it was because Denmark's verse, like people hadn't heard Denmark like that.
Right. That's right.
And so they were like, man, Denmark, kill that song. And I'm like, I'm glad you think that. Like, I'm glad we got you thinking about Denmark killing songs again. Like,
yeah.
Really
that's the thing.
This joint I've got with Denmark. It's God Fahim, Denmark, Vessi, and Midas the Beast. And it's just been sitting on my hard drive probably for like 4 years, 5 years. I need to just release it.
Total asshole.
I was supposed to be on like a project that I was doing, and it wasn't coming together, so I just kind of abandoned the project, and now it's that one like crazy unreleased joint I have just collecting dust.
So K was gonna ask, on the new Money Has No Owners, do you have any guest verses you were impressed by?
Let's see. I really liked my two favorites were Marathon Man, and then I liked New Boss.
Yeah.
New Boss is great. And yeah, Marathon Man, Midas on that is so good.
He's so good.
And Midas with Castro is so good. That's such a good mix.
I love it.
Yeah. That was awesome.
I salute Zilla because he really did pick a lot of like the beats for the features. Like he was the one that was coming up with the good ideas, which was smart because it reminds me of the type of stuff back in the mixtape era where when you were doing blends or remixes, you try to put guys on different style beats. And so glad he brought that back for this album. It worked out. It worked out beautifully, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that people connect with Midnight Suns. To get in like a bit of a nerdy take here on this thing, like with like Zilla was the last Wrecking Crew member that I fell for. Because I was like, this guy's flow is weird. Half the time he's laughing at what he just said. Like it's just jagged, right? This is the but what happened was he won the Pimp C award, right? Which is
it's a great award, wherever that is.
What happened with Pimp C is like when the song ends, the thing you remember most is what Pimp C said.
Yeah. Sweet Jones.
You're like, oh shit, okay.
That tracks. I love Pimp. I'm a Pimp C guy. Like if I had to choose between Bun B and Pimp C, it's
always Pimp C. Yeah.
Well, I remember talking like to my buddy who founded the site with me about UGK. We talked a lot about UGK about like, man, Bun is so good, but all I can think about is that crazy shit that Pimp said, right? Like, and so I just was like, man, this guy always has the lines that I remember the most. And so I was like, anybody who wins the Pimp C award, I have to investigate further. You know? And so I dove in and got into it. And honestly, a lot of people have come to me and been like, I'm on a Zilla Rocca thing now. I'm like, yeah,
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I don't know why nobody else is hearing it, but I think he's just incredible. Chef to Zilla, man. That's
Right.
I
that's dope.
I wouldn't be working with him if I didn't think he was incredible, and I think he's just amazing. So I mean, you listen
Shit.
to some of the songs, like his hook game. So one of the things I
Oh,
bring up, like his rap hooks, are some of the best in the game because a lot of people just refuse to do them anymore.
So
Or
stupid.
if they do them, they kind of do half-assed ones, right? And like he's just very good at them. Like Old Money 82 is a great example. Like that's so catchy. Like somebody was just saying that on Twitter today. They quoted
yep.
that. So
Yeah.
That's the
Those, I
shit.
mean, and so to track that with Chong, my thing is, I was talking to Chong about this before we started, that since Chong came up in the mixtape era, when you're making songs for your mixtape, they have to be impactful.
Yes.
mhm.
They have to be impactful. They can't be like, oh, this is a grower. You're gonna like this in a few months.
Yes.
Like, it's a mixtape, bro. They'll
Mm-hmm.
dismiss it.
Gotta be all heat.
Correct.
You're trying to hit home runs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Chong's beats are impactful, whether they're slow or
Yes.
fast, they're impactful.
Yep.
And Zilla has the flow I thought was jagged is an impactful flow, right? It is like you can't sleep through like a Zilla song. You can't just ignore it in the background. You will come into your ear with something crazy. So
Thank you.
the combination of the impact makes for makes for stuff that people are going to like, I think.
I appreciate that. That's really dope to hear. Yeah, I going back what you're saying about embracing me last out of Wrecking Crew. That's hilarious. Um, I remember I was talking to Barry once. Shouts to Disco Vietnam. We're starting the mix and mastering phases of my next solo that he's executive producing. It's called Fast Eddie. That'll be out like late fall. He said to me a while back, he was like, "Your job is to be the accessible one. Like that's your spot." So I was like, "Huh, I could do that." That makes sense when you verbalize it to someone. So to say like it's a Pimp C, like I remember the one UGK album. It was probably like 2008 or 9. I forget which one. It was the one after Internationals Players Anthem blew up and all that. And Pimp C just had that line where you go, "Young girl sucking on my dick like a chicken wag." I thought that was like the one. That's the one line I remember from the whole record, and I just play that back to back. And Bun B is nasty, and syllables, and he's great, and
Right.
he's got a great voice and delivery, and he's a gentleman. But you're right. It's like that's so for me, and to go to Chong's thing about hooks, it's like that the hooks got to matter. Like to me, that's the impact. And so for me, most of the songs start with the hook. So I got to have a hook first, or at least a working title of the what the hook will ascend to, and figure that out. So that's why it's longer of a process. It's like sometimes I'll just get a beat, whatever the beat name is. I think the beat name's cool. I'll rock with it. But like when I had the phrase like "blame yourself," right? Is from Ryan Holiday from "Ego is the Enemy," that
Yeah.
book, and I was like, I have to make a song called "Blame Yourself."
Mm.
Like, and then when I heard that beat, it was so pretty and chill, and I was like, oh, to counter that, it has to be called "Blame Yourself." But the beat sounds like Sunday morning getting some pancakes.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? So I'm like, okay, then that's that. So then I'm gonna say that, but then I also gotta have like the bitter with the sweet. So I'm saying like blame yourself, but then I'm like, we don't have to cause that
Yep.
signals break. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it's gotta be the punch in the face and then like the pat on the back. Like it's okay, wacky, that's all right. So it's like that's the trickiest piece. Whereas like I think I think I think shrapnel is so interesting because shrapnel can go as jagged and harsh and grandiose,
Right.
full throttle, and people go crazy for it.
Yep.
But then when they scale back and do like the more soulful, personal songs, that makes me listen even more because they have more like angular production sometimes. Now the new record, you guys will hear that soon, the Controller 7 record, man. Woohoo! Yo, that one coming out. Yo,
Great.
that it's my favorite one. Like, and I'm not the one to always jump on the new. You know, like my favorite Castro record is
Yeah.
Blue Edwards
Right.
with Smalls from 2019. But what they're doing with Controller 7 in terms of like mood and texture, I think it's really interesting. I think for us, Chong has the versatility, and I like how you keep pointing out the mixtapes. So, like I was a huge mixtape guy,
Mhm.
and again, you're right. Like the slow drudgery,
Mm.
we don't know this person. They go on the last two songs of side B. At the end, you kind of take a shot on these people. I don't know if I liked them or not, but the first five or six got a crush on side A, and then
Right.
side B, the first two or three got to be hitting to keep it rocking. You know, on the cassette days, CDs were a little different, but yeah, I think there's an immediacy, but you also want to have a path you set for the listener that will listen to it in sequence the way you have it. You know, if you want to cherry pick and randomize, like that's all love. That's cool. But how we set it up, and then the production we have, the guests we have, Chong's great ideas of getting, you know, musicians specifically on certain records, his scratching, like it's all a whole piece we have to be like, okay, this is where we want you to think. This is how we want you to feel. And we want to take you by surprise here. We want to
Right.
kind of take you down for a second on this one. It's very DJ. You know what I mean? I'm not a DJ, but
Yep.
that's how a DJ thinks, like approaches shit.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but it definitely does, and that's why you got to jump off the album with the anthems, right? Because you want to like, you got to come with that intensity to grab people's attention, set it off. That's the old mixtape style. You always wanted the intro to be hype and like the first couple
Right.
tracks to be the hypest, so that was kind of makes sense. But it's just funny that you thought that Zilla his flow was like janky or something, because to me, like maybe I'm just crazy because I do like a lot of crazy stuff, but to me his flow seems like super traditional and very straightforward. What I think's crazy about him is what he talks about, like like just some of the stuff that he mentions that like just nobody else raps about, like those Southern Vanguard guys. They played some of our stuff on one of their shows, and I'm listening to it, and like you go from like I think like some UFO Fiv or whatever his name is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Fave,
like
yeah.
just like some like grimy like East Coast underground stuff into our stuff, and it
It's
all of a
totally
sudden
stands
it
out.
just sounds like so much different. It's like, okay, these guys aren't rapping like the same way, they aren't talking about the same stuff,
Mhm.
the beats aren't the same, and it was just so weird because it was like everything else on the show all kind of like sounded the same, and ours was just like, I was like, thanks for playing our wild weird shit, and he's like, oh, well, it wasn't wild or weird, and I was thinking like, but if you listen to it,
Yeah, in
it
the
sounds so
context of,
much different than anything else that was on the show.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so it's definitely, that's what we do us, you know what I mean? So
you know what that is, dude? I'm thinking as you're saying that. I'm not trashing that man by any means. I can make a UFO Thief song. He can't make my songs. I
Right.
can make a grimy, just angry East Coast 1998 joint. I love those joints. Those songs raised me. I can do that. You know, it's not very interesting to do it. But if someone gave me the beat like that, I can get down and dirty on my Mob Deep. You know, First
Mhm.
Infantry. I could do all those type of records. I think that is weird. When we have those joints that stand out, because in my mind I'm like, yeah, that's just you're talking about like the community and marketplace. I feel like the market is just heavy with that style because people support that style. You know what I mean?
Right.
People buy those records, they're excited, they spread the word. That's cool. I like some of those records to death, but it's like, I can make a Rome Streets album. You know what I mean? Just that's
Right.
not that difficult to make. And that's no shot at him. That's what he likes. That's what he's good at. I like Kiss the Ring. I like a lot of them records. But he can't make, blame yourself. He can't make that record. That's,
Right.
that's not what he does.
And I don't want to seem like shots at any of those people, right?
Nah, I love them all.
I want to build on your point. I think what's missing from some of that stuff you're talking about in the market, you made it sound easy. That's your trick. But um you just laid out when you talked about Blame Yourself, which is my favorite song on the album.
But
Um it's what you laid out is mood layering,
Mm,
right? You're like, I got a pretty beat, so I'm gonna go with Blame Yourself,
right.
and I'm gonna start like talking about, oh, me and Petty go steady, and I'm gonna like
Right.
dig into me and my issues, but then I'm also gonna relieve you on the hook.
Right.
It's gonna be my prettiest hook you've ever heard, right? And
Yes.
then like so there's there's like layers of mood that counter each other,
Right.
right? Um, and so it's a beautiful song, but it's also like it's a song that I put on loudly and stare at my son and go, like fucking, no sympathy for Celtics, and just like say it in
Yep.
his face because he's a Celtics
Never.
fan. Like
Never.
it makes that song is joyously petty and makes me embrace my pettiness. So it's there's mood layering there, right?
Right.
Like, and some of that is what is missing in the market.
There you go.
And
That's a nice way to say it.
the versatility for sure. Like a lot of guys, and it comes down to like what the fans are buying too. And I mean, like you can't blame these guys. Like
No.
they're doing their style. It's selling. The people are buying it. It's dope.
Yeah.
And a lot of people start to copy the style, and then the fans want that style, so then it becomes prevalent. It becomes what
Right.
everyone's listening to. And a lot of those radio shows, we're kind of just lucky because me and Zilla, we've been around long enough to develop relationships with people that we can get played on these shows where a lot of guys that might be more in me and Zilla's lane, they're not getting played on these shows. So
Right.
when our stuff really stands out even more because it's like, oh, like this, no, they're not playing anybody else from our lane. And
Right.
even within our lane, we're not really doing like as
Right.
abstract as a lot of the guys. Like compare us, like he was just mentioning Shrapnel, like they're
Mhm.
so there's these, even though that's the homies
Mhm.
and they're on our record, their records don't sound anything like our records at all.
No.
Like so it's like
Right.
it's definitely just standing on our own shit. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like who knows, maybe if we conformed, maybe we'd be more successful, but I also don't want to. Like
No.
that's everything that I'm against is conforming. Like if you don't, like back in the day in hip hop, like if you didn't have your own style, if you didn't have your own sound, if you weren't original, you weren't shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yep.
and people talked about this a lot, but there's no diversity anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Back in the day, there was NWA, Public Enemy, Kid and Play, Big Daddy Kane, you know what
Right.
I mean? Like everybody doing their own thing. Like, like so many different varieties of sounds and styles, like not everything had to be grimy and street.
No.
Well,
And
it was like it was because no one knew what anyone else was doing.
good call. Yeah.
Like in we had no idea what 3 6 Mafia was.
I did not
In
get that.
Maine,
It took me a
we had
long
no
time.
fucking idea what was going on with 3 6 Mafia. And
I didn't know in Philly. I didn't catch that for a
exactly.
minute.
And so like there were these worlds that were kind of blocked off a little
Yeah.
bit. And like we found out later that all of our favorite rappers were friends with each other because they toured and bought
Right.
weed and in their other places, and we're like, yeah, Snoop's swinging through Texas and hanging out with Face, and like, we found that shit out later. But like in the moment, everything was separate. There was no
Yeah.
social media.
Yep.
Everybody was just doing their own thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think now it's like the marketplace is either like the Griselda or backwoods. You know what I mean? Like it's the pendulum. So you have one where it's like we love 1998 Alchemist, Mobb Deep, G Rap. That's our whole shit.
Yep.
And then the flip side is it's like Billy Woods, Elucid, Arm and Hammer, that space, And so for us, I'm not on Backwoods and I'm not on Griselda. So, and I'm not on Rhymesayers and I'm not on Ruby Yacht, but I like and take pieces from every single one of them. Like I could take pieces from West Side and Benny, then I could take pieces from Slug, and then I could take pieces from Mike Eagle and Woods and Arm and Hammer, and then be like, but here's what I do, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm all right with us sticking to it rather than like, oh man, if we don't cater to the backwoods fans, we're fucked. Or you know what I mean? Or like, oh, if I don't do, we're fucked. If I don't do the West Side Gun ad libs, like, what am I gonna do? You know, it's
Right.
like not. So it always puts us in a strange, but it's only because, like, what's that? The one line Quelly said on Obamacare, where he said something like, y'all call me weird, but I was just waiting for you to catch up. Like, he has that one line where I
Yeah.
was like, yo, Quelly never been weird to me, and I first heard of him in '09. I was like, this guy's friggin' brilliant. You
Right.
know, and here we are 15 years later, where everyone's like, oh, Quelly Chris, one of the best ever. I'm like, yeah, he was. He always was. So I feel like that's where on our end, it's like, it doesn't, yeah, it wouldn't fit next to Ito and, you know what I mean? Like Ricky Hyde, like our records cannot be, you know,
Right.
next to them. It is weird. So
It's weird for sure.
it's definitely weird.
But that's what we're trying to bring to the table. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we want to make some weird, different stuff that might not be weird to us, but it might be weird to other people, and just like interesting. You know, like
Mhm.
and songs, like making songs about things. You know, like,
Right.
a lot of
Right.
guys don't make songs about shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Correct.
so
Right.
I'm
No,
not
that's
good at that. I'm really bad at making songs about nothing. It's hard. It's tricky for me just to be like, well, I don't know. Here's some shit. I don't know. It's hard to do.
Hey, how did you feel about the progression from the first album to this one?
What I'll say is your 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 albums remind me of like sitcoms, you know, where like every episode is kind of isolated in itself sometimes.
Hmm.
And that's what I find unique about your songwriting, is that it's very like it almost feels like a slice of life. Every song kind of feels like a slice of life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think we're not getting it. Kind of alludes to what you guys were saying. We don't get that slice of life writing too much nowadays. There's not
Good call.
many, you know, artists that are, you know, writing songs about like their typical day-to-day life experience.
That's a good call. Thanks, man. Yeah, like
Yeah.
from our era, it was like, you know, like Fife, like went to Carvel to get a milkshake. Like that's the beginning of a verse. It's like I know
Yeah.
where he is. I know what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like it's weird to be like, yo, I hate like, oh, that's my era, but like I don't know. Like there needs to be like some direction. And sometimes it's cool just to be wild stream of conscious and just say fly shit and have cool words next to each other. I like doing that, like Camp Low or Ghostface. Um, but when it comes to like you're right, it's songwriting. And
Yeah.
so all the songs, like I'm gearing up at the end of the month to drop re-release my first record from my old rap duo from 2005. And when I hadn't listened to that record in like at least 10 years. And when I listen to it now, I'm like, wow, I was very cringeworthy. It's very bad. But people have been asking for it here and there over the years. So when I listen to it, I'm like, that's the sound of a young man who's like doesn't know how to write songs yet. You know what I mean? It's like still trying to find a voice, like literally like voice, still trying to find a flow, still trying to find a pocket, still trying to figure out what to actually say. So when I listen to it, I'm like, wow, that's like a really aimless dude, you know, when I was 22 or something. Where now it's like the reps you get, to your point, like writing songs and thinking about songs. Like when I listen to other genres of music all the time, I'm always like, what can I take from this? What can I, like when I listen to a country record, how can I apply this to what I do? If I'm listening to like a drum and bass record, how can I apply this? Like, how did they do this? Or like, how did they structure the verse, chorus, hook, you know, intro? Like, how do you just reconstruct these things? You know, so it's like, because for me, I feel like we're always working, you know, whether an album's out or not, you're always working on stuff. So it's like, how do you keep pulling things apart to be like, so like Old Money 82, that's like a cheat code song because it's only but, you know, 4 bars and then the hook. It's like a rock song. That's like how like Jimmy Eat World would write some shit. You know what I mean? Like 4 bars hook. And the hook, you know what the hook's gonna be, it breaks everything up. And then at some point when that beat changes, like there's like a beat part to that beat in Old Money. And then okay, now the verse is longer. So now it's like 8 bars instead of 4. And then the last hook, I don't say the full hook. So like it's always moving to think about how can this stand out? You know what I mean? Because we're not good music and
Right.
Drake and like we don't have 7 people working on these beats 24/7 in a factory being like, oh, Mike Dean's gonna add guitar for 4 minutes on this, and then we're gonna have Hudson Mohawk put the bass on, and then we're gonna,
Yeah.
it's like, what do we do? How we make it interesting? And so your point is like, yes, the content, but then like the structure within it. How do you keep subverting it? How do you make it fun versus, 16 bars, 8, 16 bars, 8, 6, okay.
Have you ever like just had like a Dua Lipa song come on the radio and you're like, I'm gonna write in that structure, but I can't tell anybody.
Yeah, all the time. Like that's where you have to like when I listen to Beyonce, right? I'll check her albums when they come out, and I'll be like, why do these songs hit? Because I can't make a Beyonce song, but I'll be like, most of her biggest club songs, there'll be like a 1 to 2 bar loop only. That's it. It'll be 2 bars, and it's repetitive, right? And then she'll just do interesting things on top of that 2 bar loop. So it'll be like hand claps, then it'll be chopped and screwed verse, and then it'll be. But the song is real simple. Like the actual beat is very basic. It's what she does on top of it, right? So it's like, okay. So for like even a song like New Boss, that's just a loop. It's just a straight up loop. So it's like, what do we do with that? Or, ignore the red flags. What do we do with that? You know what I mean? So it's like some parts Chong's cutting, some parts he doesn't do it. Other times it's repetitive, other times it's not. Prem has a whole gap before his verse on ignore the red flags to keep it interesting. You know what I mean? Like, so there's things we can do even if things are repetitive to kind of, pull you in
Yep.
and then make it different versus like, when you go back and listen to them old records we were talking about, like some of the 90s stuff, after a while you get kind of bored because you're like, okay, like it's the same on every song. Dudes rap the same with the same formula, 4.5 minutes, 75 minutes.
Yeah.
It really wasn't thrilling. You go back to some of that, you're like, ugh, this really could have been 20 minutes, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 20 tracks in to this fucking Talib Kweli album and Justin Timberlake popped up. What the fuck is going on here? Anyway, but we'll get to that. Like,
It's funny you mentioned Dua Lipa because there's this one. I don't really know much of her stuff, but there's this one song that I was hearing on the radio a few years back where, and I'm just like picking the thing apart because like what a lot of pop songs do now is they take a lot of elements from other famous songs but try to hide it so that
Yes.
they don't get sued. And so there's one Dua Lipa song where she's got the Men in Black drums, like the clap, clap.
Yes.
And then, but on that same song, she's got the Rosa Parks, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Dance the night away.
and
Yeah.
it's like, and it's so subtle that if you don't have that ear, you're not gonna, especially the young audience that's listening to it, they're not gonna know Rosa Parks and the Men in Black song.
right.
From us, we remember those were big hits.
Right.
So it's funny how pop does that now, that they try their best to like sample some stuff without actually sampling it, without getting sued,
Yes.
Yep.
Interpolate.
Absolutely. Interpolation. But that's awesome. Yeah, they're and the slice of life thing, right? The thing that's cool about the slice of life stuff, Kay, is once he's settled you within an environment, Packer Ave or whatever, it makes the emotional moment pay off so much more. The emotional moment and the emotional insight doesn't hit if you haven't set the scene of where we are or what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah, because that's something I kind of wanted to ask about, because there's a certain looseness to these songs to me. Like it's almost like, yeah, there's like a structure, but it's almost like some of it's like you're like talking, you're walking the audience through a day. But from hearing what you're saying, you actually spend a lot of time with a lot of time like hashing out and really tightening up your ideas. What is that process like?
That's a great question, man. Every song, I'm looking at our track listing, right? And so everyone's a total different approach. So Tough Guys, for example, when we did Tough Guys, I literally walked around my old neighborhood at night, listening to that beat, being like, what would Raekwon do on this? That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to move without thinking and say fly dangerous shit on this. That's all I'm going to do. But when we did like New Boss, I was driving through Maryland and DC, and I was like, oh, this is some driving shit, and it hit. So that like I wrote that in the car, and I'm like, this reminds me of like Beats, Rhymes, and Life era Tribe. What would they do? What would Fife Dog do on this while I'm driving? But then when we did like Never Stay in Touch with Rich, I was like sitting down to write that and think of the hook, you know, and like what Rich is the vocalist. Rich is a secret weapon. He's unbelievable.
Sure.
How can I don't want to just hand it off to him, be like, okay, do the whole hook. I'm like, I want to do something next to it. And I remember Chong the whole time being like, he was like, the song is so relatable, but it's funny because you're singing it at the beginning, but
Yeah.
it's real. Like it's a real thing. And then Rich comes in and be like, think about ways and they're on my mind. I would know about nothing. Like he's like crooning
Yep.
about dodging people. Like that's really what the song's about. Like how do I dodge this motherfucker? I'm not gonna hang out with him. Right. So it's all of these songs have the end goal in mind when I start it, but I'm like, how do we get to that point? What's that gonna, and it's fun because when you're always making songs or thinking about songs or reflecting on them, it's like you can use the same approach, right? You could always be like, okay, I sit in this one chair at this time of the day, I drink alcohol, you know, I let it summon, you know, whatever. Other times it's like you do fun things. Where again, you'd be like, what would Raekwon do on this song? What would Fife Dog do on this song? I'll do that. Okay. All right, on this song, how do I coexist with Andrew and Jesse in a Sleeping Dogs Lane? What do I do? You know, pool hall. That's just all me. And I used to most of my life was in pool halls. I'm like, okay, that's where we're gonna go with this one, right? So it's helpful to know like all the tricks. Because
Yeah.
when you make a lot of records, you start realizing like, I'm stuck. What can I do? Oh, here's a trick I learned. It's like in sports. It's like the older you get, you're like, huh, I don't have to run at full speed at all times to do this. I could like slow down. I could go over here. I could fake. You know what I mean? Like you just have a wider tool chest to think about how do I maximize my shit? How do I make my shit the best shit for me? You know, so that's like from a writing. For the beats, that's a Chong thing. I'm here curious to hear what Chong says.
Um, I don't know because it's just like with me, it's just you go digging, you find the ill samples. The samples lead you to where you're going with the beat, like what's gonna work with this sample, where or whatever. But touching on that slice of life thing, like I don't know if it affects Zilla, but a lot of the comic books that I like to read nowadays, a lot of the writers that I like, really are slice of life comic book writers, like Tom King,
Right.
Jeff Lemire. Those guys are like slice of life masters. They'll be writing like a Batman story, but it's all about his relationship with like
Oh, I
Catwoman
love that. Yep.
and or like like Mr. Miracle, all that stuff. Like
Right.
a lot of the best writers right now in comic books are doing that kind of stuff where it's like, okay, we're kind of tired of like the cliched superhero stories, so they're taking real life, they're putting them into real life situations, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've talked about this probably before with you guys. Was one of my favorites was the like Mr. Miracle
Yeah.
where they go shopping for furniture.
Right.
Whole
Right.
episode of them
Right.
just like fighting while like shopping for furniture or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like I don't know if that influences Zilla, but I mean I dig it, and that's one of the things where it's this one is less about the superhero comic books as the first one would have been, how dark that one was. This is
Right.
more about just life, you know what I mean? And so I definitely feel a lot of the slice of life vibes on this, and I dig it because it's relatable when you're talking about real life stuff that the average person goes through.
Wow.
Relatable.
Yeah,
So,
it's almost okay. It's
just-
when Zilla was talking about the process, I was thinking about like those old days when you had DVDs and they always had bonus features. And
Yes.
so you watch the bonus features and Donnie Brasco bonus features, and then Al Pacino's like, the whole character's this coat. As long as I have this coat, you can't fuck with me.
Sunny.
This
Yep.
character.
It's Sunny.
And like that's almost like that Zilla's like, where am I?
Mhm.
Where is this song taking place?
Right.
And if he can find the connotative flavor of it, that the rest is going to be fine.
Yes.
With
There
the
needs to be
production-
grounding. What are you
Right.
gonna say?
I say with the production, if I had to say anything about it, is I do try to make stuff that I feel that like I can stuff that I can feel in my heart that I think will evoke an emotion in like the writer, like the rapper who's gonna write the song and the listener, right? So like even you know what I mean, I want stuff that has feel to it, you know what I mean, that you know means something to the writer. And a lot of times when I would send these to Zilla, I'm just like, he's like, if he ever asks me like, what do you want me to write about? I'm just like, whatever the beat,
Right.
whatever comes to your heart, man. Like just write from your heart, man. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Was it
yeah.
Chong? Was there a like when you got these verses back? Was there any like emotional moments that really struck you where you were like, "Oh shit, you hit that"?
One of my favorites was at the pool hall
Oh,
because I had made the beat so long ago, like it was like 2018 beat that had just been sitting there. And when I got it, I was out on the paths with my dogs, you know what I mean, out in the woods, kind of just walking, and had them off the leash, and I pull up the phone, or I see the email come through, and I hit play like and crank it up on my phone speaker, and I'm just like, you know what I mean, like I'm just like in the woods, like yeah, like doing like the rapper walk, you know what I mean? Like
Hell
a
yeah.
music video. It was that good just off the first listen, and I just like kept it on repeat like until I got done the walk and turned it on in the car. And that one just and I think that has become my favorite song. There's so many good songs on the album that I like, but that one, I don't know what it is about that one. There's just a magicness to it.
yeah.
And it just got played on Hot 97 the other night.
Hell
Shout out to
yeah.
Rosenberg and
That's the Rosenberg.
Top shelf premium.
Shouts to
They got
Mark.
it in the mix. So
Amazing.
yeah, that was just huge. You know what I mean? Like I've had stuff played on there before. I think Zilla has too, but
Yeah.
it still shocks you because it's another one of those things where a lot of the guys that are getting played on there are the crime apples that roam streets.
Yes. Good call.
And I've worked with those guys, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
it's different when they're on there every night, and when you all of a sudden just out of nowhere you get that play, it means something, you know what I mean? So we appreciate that, and I think that song has really resonated with people. When we did that listening party you were mentioning earlier, everybody loved that song so much. At
Yeah,
the
they're
end
like,
of the
run it
listening
back,
party, they're
run
like,
it back.
run that back, run that back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just that really became the anthem, man. I love that joint.
Amazing.
Yeah, that beat is when he sent me that beat, I was like, oh, why did this take so long for me to own this one? This is mine today. I'm rapping today on this
Well,
one.
and that's like to have a beat that you made in 2018 that's like a child of yours. You know, that's like a long time to sit with a beat. And then to have it come back exactly how you want it, you would want it. That's like an incredible thing.
Oh, yeah. It totally is. And it was one of those ones where I just didn't think anyone was ever going to use it. I don't even remember if anyone had turned it down or not, or why it took so long to get to him. Because that came way later when we were stumped, and I sent him
Yes.
a pack
Yep.
of like 50 random beats. Like I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
because I usually would only send like just as I make them, or like a
Yep.
handful of the hottest shit that I got. Like here's two really good ones that
Yep.
I have made recently. But that one we were just stumped, and I was like, here's 50 like beat sketches and new
Yeah.
bot and at the pool hall came out of that pack. And the crazy thing that even made me love that at the pool hall even more was I bought that record when I was in Paris, and I like made my wife like come to the record store with me. It was like a hike up the hill because I was
Women
like,
love it. Women love while you're digging. They love it. It's
they're like,
romance.
she was just so mad, and right, and 'cause it was like we get to this little record store, and it was a shitty little record store, like so cramped. They had no listening station, and I was stubborn. I was like, I walked all the way up here,
I'm
like because
buying.
like it was
I'm
up a
leaving here
hill
with
in
something.
Paris, and I'm like, I'm buying something. So like I found this Soul 45, and I made the like store owner like play it like over the speaker in the store for me, and I was like, yeah, all right, this is
Yeah.
good. I'll take this. And then to see it become something that many years later is just awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and as good as getting played on Hot 97 is, it's not better than being a friend of Joe Clare. That's pretty good.
No, man. Shouts to
That's
Joe Cleasy.
that was
Oh my
cool.
God. I love that man.
The yeah, for people who don't know, like Chong just sent the thing to Joe Clare and was like, "Hey, we made a song about you," and Joe Clare was like, "This shit's fire!" And he
Yep.
went crazy for it. That's dope.
It was tight, man. Like you
That's
never
tight.
know. Sometimes when you holler at people on Twitter, like I just tagged him in the post and said we
Mhm.
made a song named after you, and he he lost it. He loved it, and he even like made a little like Instagram video about it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
tight. I was
that
trying to get him on the remix, but I don't know. He just kind of like he just stopped responding. So I don't know. I
yeah.
guess either I don't think he's rapping like that anymore. You know what I mean?
Nah,
Makes
nah.
sense.
Doing
That makes sense.
comedy, so he probably didn't even really want to
Yeah.
get on the track. But
The
No.
it's dope. You know what I mean? I love it because that's just that's part of the record being such a hip hop record because we and
Yeah.
Zilla have talked about this. There's so many like hip hop things about the record, and the fact that Joe Claire, host of Rap City, like acknowledged us. You know what I mean? It's being played on Hot 97. That's hip hop.
It's
You know
hip
what I
hop,
mean?
right?
right,
Right.
Like that fucking new Boss song is just like to me that's
Hip
just
hop
like
is
the
shit.
definition of hip hop. That's as hip hop as you can get on a record. You know what I mean? The chant chorus, the scratches, the break beat,
the other question I had for you guys was because of how different these sides are, right? Side A and side B. It's side B is so interesting, and I think it's my favorite. Even though side A is amazing, but like, what happened in the generation of side B? When did that happen?
That's a good question.
Well,
I
I think
remember we talked about it. We were like, man, we have very different packets of songs here. We
Right.
have Tough Guys, Marathon Man, Joe Claire, but then we have Men Never Take Advice. We have Terrible Twos, Never Stay in Touch. Like that's the real challenge. That's fun. It's like how does this get stitched together to make sense? You know what I mean? So that was a very deliberate. Chong, I forget how we came to the arrangement, but that was a very we were aware of that for sure.
we were definitely aware of it, and I think like someone else had asked me about the sequencing of it, and it was automatic to me just, and I think it was from that history of making so many mixtapes and just knowing the flows of it, and I knew that the that we had a lot of soul songs, and the second side basically was like the soul album, the soul side, all the
Yeah,
like soulful songs. And I like the B side more too. I think it's just got a little bit more replay value, whereas the A side is just more like the hype skill cuts, like flexing the skills a little bit more and just
right.
high energy stuff. Like the gym, those are the gym cuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yes,
Zilla Rocca's gym shit.
yes. A
And
lot of
then
gym
the E
shits.
side is more of the just like chill out and some introspective stuff and some songwriting stuff. So
Yeah, I remember. You know what it was? I'm remembering now as you're saying it. We were like the first few need to continue the first record for people because the first album again from the imagery, the test press, the variants, I mean, the packaging, the Marvel nods, it was like okay, to me it's like these songs if you press play on the first album and then let it go into this part, it okay, you're like okay, yeah, I know what this is, cool. And then once you get to like Men Never Take Advice, it's like okay, now here's the record. The first 3 to 4 joints are like, okay, we're back again. Hello, this is us. But this time now we're expanding it out versus like laying into only, Marathon Man part 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or Tough Guys part 1, 2, 3. So like that's where, and again, even when we were talking about beats at the very beginning, I remember you were saying some, you were sending me like, oh, this is like some Slum Village shit. And I'd be like, I love Slum Village. Like, send that over. Okay. And you're like, I don't know, man. I was like, no, I'll listen to it. And I remember not picking it, but I remember thinking about, like, where could we go with this for another record? Because Chong and I were talking a lot before we started, being like, I'm just not interested in making that first record again. Like, I'm just, as an
Right.
artist, as a fan, we did it. We said our piece. We loved it. It did well. It was phenomenal. And it's a big touchdown record for me. But I was like, I don't want to just do that again and again and again and again. Like Police Academy 2, Police Academy 3. Like who? Come
Right.
on, man.
Right.
Like you can't have 6 police academies. Shouts to Steve Gutenberg, but you know what I mean. Like 2 is fine. 1, 6.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we leaned into our versatility because we're not really just like one-dimensional guys. We can do a whole lot of styles. Zilla has proven that over all the different albums he's done, and I think just with the beats just that I displayed on Money Has No Owners, you can see that I can flip a lot of styles. So
Hell yeah.
Yep. No, it's the song that changed my relation. There's a song on the first one that really changed my relationship to Zilla, musically, and it was The Gray Ghost,
Ah, nice.
because I'm a Batman animated series nerd. We lived that. He lived for that shit. And so when this came on, Great Ghost, I was like, he can't be talking about that Batman episode, right? Like, and then you like from the song, you're like, no, he is, and he knows, and he's connecting it. Like, it's one thing to reference the shit, like you hear all the time. So people will reference comic books, but their reference don't really make sense.
Of course not. Right.
If you know the
So
comic
bad.
books, you're like,
So bad.
it's not. That's not actually something he's good at. Like, and uh, but you're like the tone and what you were talking about and how it connected to the Gray Ghost episode and how that episode connected to your journey through this scene. I was like, fuck, that's high level. Like,
Hell
that's
yeah.
really knowing, being able to mirror those references was like, oh, okay, this is different.
Yo, it's funny. I remember that was, that's going back a minute though, but when we did that, it was called something different. There's something totally different with that song. And then, and I think we were talking
you didn't
about,
you didn't have a hook. That was the thing. Is
I didn't have
you
a hook for the
mentioned the Gray Ghost,
longest.
but there was you in one of your verses, but there was no hook. And we didn't know
Yes.
what to do on the hook. And so we did, and I think that was one of like the last things
Yes.
recorded for the entire album. So he's
Correct.
like, I got to come up with a hook for this song. And then
Yeah.
he came with the Gray Ghost, and it was funny because I didn't know, I didn't get the reference because I couldn't remember it because it's been so long since I've seen the animated
Adam
series.
West, right?
Yep.
Didn't he?
And I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it, but recently, probably in the last year or two, I've seen it because now they've got them all on Netflix, and I
Yeah.
watched that episode, and it does tie into like the song and who Zilla is. It made a lot of sense, you know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah.
You know what that was? It's funny. Now I'm remembering it. I picked it, that name, I forget, it was something totally different. And then I was just like, yo, it's that that's like an ill way of talking about getting older.
Yeah.
It's like I'm the gray ghost. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, because the first song on that first record, like Mark Spector's theme, that really just set everything off for me and
Right.
Chong forever, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a nod to Moon Knight. And then we had Philadelphia with Malik B. That was a book out at the time about vampires taking over Philly.
Sure.
You know, and like Vigilante Breakfast, that was like Castro's idea with him
Mhm.
in Alaska. So we had the graphic novel side of things, and then we had Gray Ghost. I was like, but if we covered all these things already, and then I was like, I just hit me. I was like, the Gray Ghost. It hit me. I was like, that's like a mature thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm at.
Yep.
Whereas if I was 23, you know, I would not fucking think that's cool at all. I'd be like, no, man,
Well,
I'm not
and
a fucking
there's
Gray Ghost.
and the Grey Ghost ties in, and it ties into this album just in the sense that in the episode, Adam West spends a lot of time down memory lane regretting shit.
Right.
And like, there's part of Midnight Suns is new Zilla reckoning with old Zilla,
Yes.
right? And the way I was running on the elliptical and listening to the stuff and thinking about it, and I was like, it's almost like those old gold miners who used to sift for gold.
Right.
It's almost like the sifter is Buddhism,
Yes.
spirituality, and
Mhm.
you're putting old Zilla on, and you're just sifting out
Yes.
what you want from old Zilla. Is that how long have you been sifting?
Man, probably since I was about 27. It was very clear. I remember I come back from doing a set of West Coast shows. It was funny. I was with Mike Eagle. It was me, Castro, Mike Eagle, No Can Do, Jeff Weiss. We had just watched the Blake Griffin dunk contest. It was
Mhm.
fucking hilarious. So we were watching that. We did shows in like L.A., Phoenix. I forget where else we played. It was a great time. And I remember feeling like, yo, this is I love the West Coast. I love it out here. And I was gonna move out there. I had a whole plan set. And then I came back. I remember flew back to Philly, and again, this is February. So February in Philly is like depressing already. It's brutal. Okay, you guys in Maine get it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Seasonal depression is a real thing, and I still go through it as a
Yep.
much older person. But I remember I came back and I was like, God, I just friggin' hate this. Like, I don't like anything that I'm coming back to here. And so I was like, well, what can I do? Like this is something about me here. Like I don't like this. Not like I don't like my roommate, my cousin. I don't like, you know. And so that's when I was like, I need to pursue another path, right? And so that began that spiritual journey for me back in whatever it was, 2011 or something. So since then, you know, I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours reading books, going to classes, befriending monks. Like it's dope, you know, and then befriending people that are there that are just like regular people with jobs and don't know that I rap and don't care. Like none of that matters. So when you start doing that, it's like, and then you just get older and you have things to reckon with. It then becomes a way of being like when I men never take advice. Like that's about one of my first rap partners who like we had a breakup and then I spitefully like made out with his ex-girlfriend, which is disgusting. You know, I'm like, that's horrible.
Mhm.
But that's me being like, well, I thought you deserved it because you were a shitty friend.
Yeah.
But not really. We were just young, stupid people, you know. So it's like, it's enough to be like, I'm okay putting that out, you know. Like that's, and again, that was the first song we made, and I was like, man, I don't even know if Chong's gonna be into this because
Right.
this is
Right.
not Millionaire Grammar. This is not Grey Ghost.
Mhm.
But this is what this beat like. I was remember just like listening to that beat. So and the beat reminded me of Mash
Yeah.
or like Kill a Army or something like those really moody, sad but melodic samples. And I was like, you just can't. And then I got to lean into the depression on this one. Like this is that type of beat. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna kind of go there, but I'm not gonna go all the way. You know, we talk about like how you subvert sounds and styles. So now it's like a matter of, and again, it's never like I'm not sitting there and be like, all right, man, on this album, man, I really got to talk about some shit that happened when I was 24, man. Wow, I really got to get into this. It's kind of just where the music pulls me, you know.
Mhm.
And but I'm now in my life, I'm good with being like, I'm gonna let that take the wheel. I'm not gonna like when I was younger, I would always be like, this happens to all of us. You feel like you need to keep steering and holding on to the artist you think you should be,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like I should be the next Aesop Rock. I should be the next Nas. Nas wouldn't say that. Aesop Rock wouldn't pick that beat. Ghostface would never do this.
Right.
You know, like Prodigy from Mobb Deep would never say these things. So therefore, I will not either because I think I'm in that world. And then as you get older, you're like, but that's me. Like I'm like stilting myself. I'm like putting a cap on the real stuff that I can say that's my stuff that isn't like an approximation of 10 rappers I love. You know what I mean? So I think as just with age and time, like you get more comfortable. Whereas I'll be honest with you, some people I look up to them, they knew who they were at 20 years old. They were
Right.
like, "Yep, this is it. This is all you. I'm just this thing. I'm good at it." But someone like Andre 3000 is so fascinating because you follow him like still sorting it out, being like, "Do I
Yeah.
want to be this way? Is that cool if I'm am? Was that cool when I was this way when I was 19?" And when I was 19, I thought, you know, I still wasn't sure, you know, what am I supposed to do with this? So I think that's like a really it's an interesting thing. But I applaud people like that. Like you know, like I rewatched Time is Illmatic. It was on Peacock. I hadn't seen Time is, you know, since it first came out 10 years ago.
Right.
And when you listen and you know, and Illmatic is like the most cliche thing in the world. But when you rewatch that movie, you're like, this dude at 19, 20 years old was like, here it is, man. This is me. Here's everything I got going on. You know, when I was 20, it was like I couldn't do that. You know, I had to be like, no, 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 no. You don't be funny. You know,
Right.
don't talk
Right.
about
Right.
basketball
Right.
too much now. We got to be real artists here. We got to be real serious, critically acclaimed guys.
Yeah.
You know, versus Like when you listen to Co-op Culture, you hear me on that show. Like I said, Alaska, I get the most random DMs from dudes all day. Dudes are just always getting at me about something on the show, something I said in the past, something happening in sports. Like I'm just talking to men, you know what I mean? Like that I don't know because of the show. You know what I mean? They're not like, yo, Midnight Sun. They'll be like, how the fuck did you say that about Earl Sweatshirt? I can't believe you, man. But I thought the same way. He sucks. And I'll be like, ah ha ha, you know, like it's crazy. But that's I couldn't have done that in 2010, 2015. You know what I mean? It had to kind of happen. But to your guys' point, it's like we talk about like being rewarded, you know, with people making the same type of like I'm rewarded with the show because the show is, you know, all you guys have been or aware of the show or been on the show or Jason. And it's just like people like it because they're hearing me, Alaska, and Castro. Like this is how we would just do things
Right.
if we weren't on Zoom. So I feel like the records are like that as well. The records are like, this is what I would just talk. I would, you know, I would talk about Joe Claire. You know, like I would talk about never stay in touch. Like, yeah, man, there's mad people. It's bad for me now, real quick. Like, I just had my son's baseball game. We got a puppy, bro. The puppy, I got to talk to people the whole time. I'm like, oh, where did you get her? How old is she? Oh, my son's here. I'm like, all right, I just want to put the headphones in and like write some songs, please. But the puppy, it's like I gotta have 2 hour conversations. I'm like, oh my god, and I'm wearing a shirt the whole time that says I never stay in touch. Like, leave me
Yeah.
the frig alone, please. I need some
Hilarious.
solace,
That's awesome.
and so it pulls me away from that. You know what I mean? So it's very stressful. But shouts to puppies. Shouts to my puppy.
Shouts to puppy, man. So, Kay, there's like,
I add something.
go ahead.
A
Yeah.
lot of what Zilla was saying there, like, encapsulates what the new album is about, like growth, maturity, and our age, and being more free to like pull on old experiences. Like I was saying this to somebody else where it was like when Andre 3000 was saying like, oh, I'm 48, what am I going to rap about? And it was like, dude, like you've got like, unless you've already rapped about everything you've done, like you've got a whole life's experience. Like, so a lot of times when Zilla is like talking about stuff, I'm on, sometimes I'm like, oh, what point in his life is he rapping about? And then like, sometimes it's like, I can relate because like we're around the same age and it's like, oh, it's probably this era. Cause as a young man, I was going through the same kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So, and it's funny because in hip hop, we don't always know what age artists are. So a lot of times, and fans, it's like our stuff might be for more mature audiences, you know, and like some other stuff might be for younger audiences where it's like if we don't get it, you know, it might be for somebody else. So it's interesting. And even with artists, like sometimes I wish I knew their ages because I've been hard and dismissive of young artists, and I didn't know that they were like teenagers or 20-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like one of my famous examples is back in the day, like Mac Miller's like manager got at me, and he was like 15 or 16 or something, and I was like, no, I don't want to work with this guy. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, and I was in probably like late 20s or something at that point. You know what I mean? And I was working with people that you know, had mastered their craft, and I wasn't thinking like, oh, this guy's like a talented young prodigy. Like, wasn't in my mind. I wasn't looking for, oh, maybe this guy will develop into something. You know what I mean? Like, and so when you listen to stuff, even nowadays, like sometimes I listen to stuff and I have to remind myself, like, maybe this guy's just like on the younger side and he's still developing as an artist. So I try not to be as critical on stuff. And I think with our album, it's one of those things too, where it's like, if you're not of our age, you might not get it. You know, you might not get it. So,
And I think what I've seen, Chong, is kind of the other side of your point, which is sometimes I'll talk to young artists and I'm like, this motherfucker's so far ahead maturity wise, and then we'll be talking about what they're listening to, and they're listening to Woods and Cav and you, like, and they're listening to Castro, and I'm like, oh, all the people you're listening to are like 40-year-old indie hip hop gods. Like you're listening to Quelle, you're listening like, so you're getting the mature perspective and you're watching them make chess moves.
Right.
Like, and you're like, oh, that's how I want to be. You know?
Yeah, like I was, 12 banging like it was written, or 14, whatever that was. You know what I mean? Like really sitting there being like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. Like, wow. And I remember getting mad when I was a kid, like Method Man, he can't be 30. That's disgusting. You know what I mean? I used to be mad. I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
DMX, you can't be 29 years old. I'm 15.
Right.
What?
Right.
No, no, no. I used to be really heated about that shit,
That's
that they
funny.
were aging. Because I was like, oh, because in my mind, I'm like, they're going to be tapped out. Like, they're going to be so bad when they
Mm.
hit 30. I thought that was like the death knell for rappers. You know what I mean? But like,
I think too, like the audience back then, like we were all teenagers listening to guys that were either late teens or early 20s. So the subject matter too was directed like at
yes.
really young men. And I feel like hip hop has totally fucking grown to the
Yeah.
point where there is like way more mature stuff, music wise, content
Yeah,
wise.
yeah. This is why when we had Milk on our pod, and we were talking about the Jay-Z Linkin Park record, the Collision Course, right?
Yep.
And we were talking about like the Black Album era of Jay-Z. And Chong, you as a producer, I mean, that was the treasure trove with all them acapellas and all the remix, everything, right? And when that came out, I was like 21. So I was like a grown man when that came out. I was like at the clubs wearing button-ups, fitteds, right? Where I'm like,
Changing clothes.
yeah,
Yep.
all of that, like all that, I was out there, right? And here's Milk being like, "Oh, I was at like my sixth grade dance dressed like Hove,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "Damn, bro, you were in sixth grade looking up to a 35-year-old man wearing
Mhm.
button-ups. Like that's how big Jay-Z was."
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I mean? But I'm like, but even Milk being like a child of Jay-Z, that informs Milk right now when you listen to Milk. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like, of course, you grow up worshiping 2003 Jay-Z. You know
Right.
what I mean? And wearing it on his sleeve proudly.
And it's why, like, I don't know, this is an aside, Zilla, but like, that's what bothered me about Tyler getting at people because he thought they were pretending that they liked old albums.
Mm,
You remember that? That whole
yeah,
thing?
yeah, I
I
remember
didn't
that.
say anything about it, but I was like, my favorite album of all time came out before I was born.
Mm.
It's Bill Withers' Just As I Am. It came out before I was
Oh,
born. Like,
oof.
it's not like, so I don't, what are you talking about? Like, I grew up on
Yeah.
music came out way before I was,
He was out of pocket with that one. It made no sense, really. You know what I mean? Like, timeless music's timeless. You know what I mean? There's a lot of great albums that came out before any of us were born. So, you know, like,
Yeah, like someone had a quote. It was like, "How can a song be old if you've never heard it before?"
right. Like, Kane knows I say this shit all the time. Like, fuck your timeline. The music's all mine. 40s music, 50s music, 60s, it's all mine.
It's all
I don't give a
mine.
fuck what
You're
you
the
say.
owner.
yeah.
You know,
Music has no
Yeah,
owners,
I
Dan.
was saying too, like, it's a
That's
trip
it.
down memory lane, not only through Zilla's like past life experiences, but like with what I'm sampling, it's from all different eras of you know what I mean? And
Oh
that's the
yeah,
great
Right.
thing about hip hop. It's everything, you know what I mean? It's you pick and choose genres, decades, you know, it's all there, you know.
Oh yeah.
Soul, jazz, funk, fucking
awesome. No, it was yeah. Do you have anything else, Kay? Or do you
No, no.
well, recommendation corner time?
Mm.
And by the way, it's a funny anecdote. I was telling my son, it was, hey, we're gonna sit down with Zilla Rocca and Chong Wizard today. And he's like, does Zilla Rocca know T.I.? He doesn't understand like the layers of it in the industry at this point. So he's like,
Yo, my son the other day was like, he was like, "Daddy, are you on Spotify?" I was like, "Yeah, here, I'll show you." He was like, "Whoa." You know what I mean? He was like blown away. I'm like, "Yeah, I've been on Spotify for like 8 years, man." Like,
yeah.
and he goes, "What about Uncle Castro?" I was like, "He's right here." Boom. He's like, "Oh my God."
and and he was like, just this little Ti, and I was like, no, but we did a podcast episode on
We
Ti
did.
together.
Probably one of the least listened to episodes of Call Out Culture History. Me, you, and Brian talking about T.I. King.
yeah.
Crazy.
They weren't ready yet. They weren't ready.
Rubber Band Man.
Wow, there's the Taliban.
Banger, banger. So anyway, talking about albums, just wanted to recommend. Um, there's this weird little kind of garage rock band called
Hmm.
the Archaics.
Ooh, I like garage rock.
AR dash KIX. KAICS.
Hmm.
And they have a new album called See the World on Fire.
Oh, I like that.
And it is garage rock, but it definitely has a distinctly 70s feel. And like some of the music sounds like you could take the Harry Nilsson song out of Goodfellas
Oh,
and put it there where the
fire.
helicopter's over his head and he's driving back. Like it could soundtrack that. I really like that album. I think it's Name Your Own Price on Bandcamp. So it's
That's fire.
I dig it. I dig it. Yeah, so much good shit coming out. Let me say I got there's some stuff I got reservations about. I'm gonna go Here We Go Again, Statisonic.
Hmm. The new one?
Statisonic, yes, a new
That's
Statisonic album.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit of that. Sounded pretty good.
And the production's really good. And what I really like about Zilla, it's an 80s album that they put out now. Like it is
Ooh.
they like what I mean by that is it's not them doing trap music, it's not them doing any kind of it is Statisonic album. Like this fits
Whoa.
with the rest of their catalog.
Oh, that sounds crazy.
And they talk a lot of weird shit. They make fun of Kaz for being grumpy and shit, or Melly Mel. They make fun of
Good.
they make fun of lots of cats. Like, we did this before that, and then it was awesome.
Oh my God.
It's a
That's
fun
awesome.
album. I dig it.
The drums on that one really stood out. Like I didn't listen
Oh,
to it the whole way through, but the drums were very like signature, like them. You know what I mean? Like, damn, these drums are very pronounced.
Yup.
That's fire. I've been fucking with this album from Marcus King, Mood Swings. It's the first country album I ever heard that sounds like a soul album.
Ooh,
Yeah, and I was like, what is this?
that's
And
my
I was,
lane. That's
it's
my
really cool. Yeah, Mood Swings by Marcus, and I'm pretty sure Rick Rubin produced the whole album. The track 2 is called "Fuck My Life Up Again," and it's country music,
yeah.
but it's
The last one
hard.
that I heard that was like that was like a soul feel
Hmm?
was Ella Thompson. It was that Domino album.
Oh, I never heard that joint.
Yeah.
Repeat that.
Ella Thompson Domino got circulated. Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I love that lane. And
So good.
yeah, so it's Rick Rubin produced it
Yeah,
from the other room with his socks off, and
that's how you
that's
produce, bro. I mean,
that's
me and
good.
Chong are pro Rick Rubin. I don't like this anti Rick Rubin nonsense from these people that never made anything in their life. I'm gonna go grab my copy. Hold on, man.
Oh, we're Rubin.
You
Rubin.
want to know? You want to know what was funny?
What?
I told this story on the Call Out Culture podcast that got deleted,
Yeah.
the live from the liner notes. So I'll tell it
Hold on.
again. And
Here
at a
you go.
certain point,
See,
like,
solidarity. We
yes,
got-
Boom.
boom.
Me and
We didn't even
Zilla,
know we
like-
both bought this at the same time. We didn't even know.
we were reading it at the same time because usually I like a lot. We both read a lot, and I'd be like, whenever I'm reading a really good book, or just finished, I'll be like, "Have you read this shit?" And a lot of times Zilla's like, "Yeah, I read that. That was dope."
Yep.
And then when I said this book, he's like, "I'm reading it right now," and I'm like, "So am I. It's so good." And this
Yep.
was kind of
That's
like
awesome.
during the mastering of the album, and it's just like, it's dope being on the same page with him. I was just saying we're literally on the same page. You know what I mean? When it comes to things. And,
I'm on page 247. What page you on, B?
it's funny,
Yep.
like it's funny how he was saying he mentioned that Ryan Holiday book earlier, Ego is the Enemy, and I didn't know he'd even read that because I read that back in I think like 2019 or something like that, and it was really good. And I might need to break that one back out because it's just one of those ones that like puts you in a good mind state for sure.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
my
Another
favorite
rant.
thing from that book was real quick was that the Ryan Holiday where he said, "Do you want to be a somebody or do you want to do something?" And that's when I was like, "Yeah, I want to do something. I don't want to just
Right.
stick my chest out. Be like, oh, I'm fucking cool. I'm this." I'm like, "No, I want to get busy."
That's what I used to tell people, Zilla. Well, like at the poetry venue when they would get really nervous,
Mm,
they would be like, "Oh my God, I'm going to go on stage. People are going to be looking at me." And I was like, "You think about it the wrong way. You're delivering a piece.
right.
You're
doing
giving
something.
the
Right.
audience the piece. So
Right.
don't worry. The piece is the star."
There it is.
Dano, you're gonna love this because I think we talked about Lawrence Block in the past.
Let's do it.
When I was finishing this book, when the
Sacred
gin mill
Gin
closes, when the sacred gin mill closes, when I was finishing this book, I got the master, the final master from Rodado. Like, here, it's all mixed and mastered. And that night, as I was reading like one of the last chapters, he says money has no owners in this book.
Oh, look at
No.
that. I love that. I love
And
that
I was
shit.
just like,
Wow,
oh my
man.
God. Like, it just was like, man, that was just meant to be. It was just, it felt like it really was like, okay, yes, this was all meant to be. Like,
Wow.
I remember
so,
reading Lawrence Block and feeling like he was cheating. Like
So good.
it was so blunt that it didn't feel like writing. It was like, you can't do that. Like he
Right.
like took all the fancy shit out and it was just
Yep.
like boom, but it was still
he felt
brilliant.
like
Yeah.
that book felt like I've never been to New York, but it felt like I was in New York. Like the book
Oh,
was
so
New
good.
York. Like he was inside the city, like living it at that era or something. Like
dope.
Amazing.
it was just so accurate. It felt like.
Mhm. That's a great, but yeah, I enjoy the country recommendation. I do keep the ear on the country.
Yeah. I'm in my
yeah.
country era right now. I'm really exploring. I'm learning what I like and it's like when I first started buying comic books again in 2010, and I would just walk in and be like, I don't know, I'm gonna grab stuff, and then once I started like, oh, I like the Chong's point. Oh, I like this writer. Oh, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I like these. Okay, I'm not gonna grab Green Lantern anymore. I don't need that. Like I need to get
Yeah,
something better.
I was talking to one of my friends about it because I was like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of country that's hip hop influenced and they have like trap
Yeah,
like
it's
beats.
yes, yep,
And
yes.
I said straight up, like, I don't need that because
So
I have
good.
rap. I can just listen to rap for that. Like, what I
Yeah,
need you to do is give me that country shit.
correct. Yeah,
Like, give me what you do, not a hybrid of what someone else does better.
facts.
So yeah, Chong, what are you bumping?
Honestly, I haven't like I don't have anything exciting really to give you guys on the music front. I mean, Jesse the Tree. I mean,
Woo!
Not fade
Not
away.
Fade Away. That's coming out on Chong Wizard Records, and
Fuck
if
yeah.
I don't put out records unless I love them. I really like that one. So
So good.
shout out to Jesse. Yeah, the Bruiser Wolf album's another one from this year. I've been bumping. Love that Bruiser Wolf
So dope.
album. The last Mike Eagle album was dope. I don't know, man. Not that it's new or anything, but the last couple Arctic Monkeys albums I love.
Oh
For
man.
something different. The when they started going different, like the Tranquility Based Hotel and Casino, that album is
Ooh.
just like a perfect album to me. That's one that I go to that's like not hip hop shit that I'm just like, oh, this is my shit. So
I really like this weird ass Black Keys album. I'm really into it.
Oh, there's a new one?
Oh, dude. Yes.
Oh.
It's called the Ohio Players.
Oh, you know what? I heard an interview with them on Apple Music, but I didn't hear the record.
Beck co-wrote 7 of the songs or something.
All right, that can go a lot of ways right now.
I
You
gotta
saying
check
this
it.
to me?
They have a song with Beck and Juicy J on it.
Yo, I see right now called Paper
It's
Crown.
wild.
What?
It's so wild. But I really like it. It's
All right, I'm
them
adding this
just
right
doing
now.
whatever they want, man.
It's weird. I haven't listened to a lot. I used to listen to a lot of the old Black Keys albums,
Love
which I
them.
really loved.
Yeah.
And then some of their new stuff, I was just hearing like their singles on the radio, and they were just sounding so generic. And I was
Yeah.
just really like, I was like, man, I can't get with this. So I didn't bother listening to like any of their recent albums. So maybe I'll give them a chance.
I think once they fell out of the spotlight, they
Sometimes the
started
singles have to
experimenting
be.
again. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did they start experimenting again?
Yeah. After they fell
Cool.
out of the spotlight, I think they kind of started, switching it
Cool.
up and doing their
They
own thing.
stopped fucking with what's his name? Danger Mouse?
I think that was it. Once Danger
Yo,
Mouse was out of the
man.
picture, they started having fun.
Danger Mouse is some sucker
Um,
shit, man.
Yep.
Some sucker shit.
But
I remember when I was on you guys' show talking about that Danger Mouse and Black Dog. I was like, this shit is
hard at Danger
British.
Mouse.
I was like,
enjoy
this shit is British.
it.
It's a British album.
I didn't like
These
that album
drums.
either. They sampled the same thing as you and the
Yeah,
Expert, too.
Expert. Yeah,
Yep,
of
that
course.
was awesome.
And we did it better. Shouts to
Yeah.
Expert and
You
not
did-
really.
You did do it better.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's one of Black Thought.
Yep.
Love him. He's incredible talent, but I just, when people try to say this whole goat thing, it's like, other than like like his solo albums just haven't really been it. You know what I mean? Like it's really lacking from the argument. You know what I mean? Like those solo albums, that one on Big Crown was decent, but even that just was just like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess you got to just go back to the old Roots albums. Those are the jams.
A lot of work there, man. Whew.
A lot of work.
Stacking it.
Yeah. It's not everybody was a solo artist at that time, right? Like
Right.
coming up through that 90s shit, not everybody did that,
Yo,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this right now. I never wanted to be a solo artist. This shit is a lot of work, bro. I always love being in groups. I'm like, I got to come up with all of the concepts, I'm like, God damn, this sucks.
I mean, have
there's
y'all
that
seen
reason.
how much fun Camp Low have?
Oh, they're the
Being Camp
best.
Low, they're having a lot of
8
fun.
bars. You do 4 bars. I do 8. You do 8. You do 2. I do 4. 6. Song done. Finished.
Beautiful.
It's easy.
A lot of fun.
Have they been
Cash,
doing
when you
anything
do
lately? Like,
Shrapnel,
are they still together or are they just
Yeah.
solos now?
they haven't done anything together in a while, but they're I don't think they broke up. But whenever you bring Shrapnel back, Castro will definitely talk about that.
I love
How
that.
much he loves being like, oh, half the work's off the table. Prime Rock could write that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Me and Castro are the most 2 reluctant solo rappers ever. That was never our plan. We were never like, oh, I want everybody to look at me. I'm the man. Oh yeah. It was like,
Well,
nah, man.
It's tough, especially in indie rap, like in any level of it nowadays, because you have to split the pie so many ways. Like,
Yeah.
so it's tough to do group albums. That's why there's rarely more than a duo nowadays. Like,
Right.
Right,
it's-
right.
Ain't no more Jurassic 5s.
No J5.
you would have to do like world tours and sell millions of albums to make
Yeah.
it make sense. Like,
Run the
Roots-
Jewels. Amigos, like the 3-man weave, rest in peace. But that was the last time it was more than 2. And they were like, we're good with this. We're going to split it 3 ways. We're okay with that.
Yep.
It has to be young guys. Usually it's you start off, the groups are usually like teenagers or early 20s, and then they get wise enough to be like, this is enough money for all of us. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. But then when they go solo, they're like, wait, this isn't enough money either because I'm not as
Yeah.
popular as I was in a group.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
very few make that transition. It's difficult, right?
Yeah.
Plus,
And then they
Tom's
do
pulled it off.
And then they do a rebound album that's awful. So
Yeah, it's a tough
that
one.
tends to be the way. But Kay, what are you bumping?
Nothing new this week.
Right. Just Kay just listening to the screams of his enemies as he
Yeah, I don't blame you, Kay. I haven't been listening to much either, man. I've been just reading books and stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, inspiration, it comes like when something draws my attention, I listen to it, but if not, I just go about my day.
Fair.
that roast of Tom Brady shit. Did you check that shit at all?
I heard he stepped to Jeff Ross. He like stepped to him
in the middle of a set, and he said, "Don't say that shit anymore." It was about he was making Robert Kraft massage jokes.
getting a handy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop, man. Stop.
But it was like 3 hours long, and he was like, "You have to fast forward a lot of it."
Okay.
It's like you're just watching Drew Brees do a stand-up roast set. Oh my god. Or like
Drew
Kim
Brees.
Kardashian comes out of the crowd and does it.
Oh my
It's
god.
the clips I saw were so cringe. I'm like, I'm not watching this, man.
But Nikki Glaser smashed it. Like she
Oh,
did
yeah.
great. Kevin Hart was great. There was some good stuff in there. So Sam J.
Oh, yeah.
killed it.
Here's a book recommendation: that Tarantino
Ooh.
cinema manipulation book.
Is that the old joint? Is this old or new?
No, this is new. I mean, I think the paperback finally just came out.
Okay.
I just
I'm
bought
putting it
the
on my
hardcover
Father's Day
because
list.
They
There you
dropped
go.
the price to like what the paperback would be, so I was like, all right, I'll just get the hardcover.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm
But,
about to
yeah,
cop
man,
that.
it was really good. It's funny because between reading that and reading the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I had
God, I
I
love that
totally
book.
had this image of what he was gonna do for that the Critic movie. That
Yeah.
apparently he's abandoned now, and I'm actually
Yeah.
kind of glad because I could see where he was going with it in between, like just showing his opinion on movies from the 70s and what he was doing with Brad Pitt's character in Once Upon a Time on
Cliff
Hollywood.
Booth.
Cliff Booth.
Mhm.
It would have been cool to see, but if he's only doing one last movie, I do something
Yeah.
a little more exciting. I think that
Yes.
was gonna be like on some Taxi Driver, like weird loner, angry man shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want like his version of that weird, intense Taxi Driver Joker movie.
Yeah.
Right? No, I don't want that. Please no.
I'm
No,
good.
exactly.
I'm good. Like I don't know if I don't know about you guys. I am tired of everybody's version of Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired of. I love Taxi Driver. I grew up on
Me
Taxi
too, but
Driver,
it's
but
50 years old, bro.
jeez Louise.
50 years
I
old.
rewatched Taxi Driver like a month or two ago, and they reminded me why it was so great. Just like a lot of it is the cinematography. Like they did some just like amazing like shots, like in camera angles and just
it's unbelievable.
the city shots.
Yo,
It-
Chong, I used to go crazy with the soundtrack from Taxi Driver, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, I was in my bag in like 07, 08. I was going nuts with that soundtrack.
I got like an ill jazz riff that they keep bringing back on that
Yep.
one. Yeah.
Yep. I'll send you the joint I sampled on it.
All right, I gotta
it's
check
fine.
that. I gotta check it.
Gotta do it. Gotta
Alright,
do it.
Yep.
Gotta do it.
I'm sure Ka has sampled that soundtrack. It is very
Oh, you
moody.
gotta believe that he has.
It's
Yeah.
quite a moody soundtrack.
Yeah, man. Oh, and
It's bang.
to let the people know, I'm excited. I'm going back for the new round of Crate 808 guest features.
Nice.
And so I'm gonna get an MF Doom song. I'm gonna bring an MF Doom song.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna talk about the Black Star album.
I'm gonna be on that too. I'm talking Black Star and High and Mighty.
Which
See-
Black Star album? The first one?
I think I'm opting out of High and Mighty. I think I'm
I opted in on. I didn't want to talk Black Star. I wanted to talk High and Mighty because no one talks to High and Mighty, and they're from Philly. And Cam was like very charmingly squeezing me into talk Black Star too, and I'm like, me and Castro said he was like, it's just Mos Def's group. We don't acknowledge quality. It's just Mos Def solo albums now.
That's awesome. And I'm gonna
I
be
was
on the
like,
Black on Both Sides thing too.
Oh, cool.
So that's-
That'll be
Good.
fun.
yeah,
Maybe I'll
man.
bump into you then.
Yeah, we'll bump it. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for legends, Hot 97 legends.
Dust, French Montana, the baby, Megan Thee Stallion,
Angela
Midnight
Yee.
Suns, duh.
Yep.
Run that whole shit.
I want Kay to be on that Angela Yee lip service podcast.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh gosh.
She has a
Sure, great.
podcast where she talks to people really weirdly in depth about sex. In depth.
Okay, I'm good. No, I'll pass.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
Yeah,
I'll pass
that's
on
all
that
you,
one.
man.
I think I saw that one. She was like talking to Benny about white women or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good. I don't. And he made some salient points, but I'm like, I don't really want to hear Benny talk about this much more. I'm good.
She will get you to
Yeah.
talk about the most evil shit you just should not be talking about.
Yeah.
She has that. That's her skill set.
Good for her.
She's got it. But I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you
Hell
for being here. And we'll keep rocking.
What will tomorrow bring?